everyone, it's Alfred here from the Halifax zone of Kasira again. Just trying to do a quick video here for those that are starting their RPAS program. Setup is so important for a successful mission. And this is just a picture here, and everybody does it a little bit different. One of the things to keep in mind is vehicle placement. And part of the reason being is, in this case here, the mission we're flying is to the left of the screen. If the vehicle was parked between us and the mission, then it could interfere with the signal. Height of land makes a big difference as well. The signal goes out in a football size shape. I'll see if I can explain that to you in a few minutes. So anything that basically that could be in between you and the drone, depending on height, could interfere with it. But vehicle where we park it, because in the summertime, a lot of times vehicles' exhausts can actually start car fires by burning the grass underneath it. And even if you catch a big grass fire, and if you look at the size of this field, with wind for the fire department to catch up with it, it would not be a good thing. If you're in a forested area, it's even worse once it gets into the trees. So where you park your vehicle, in this case here, it's spring and the grass is damp, so we don't have a problem. And you'll see the yellow barricades that we have on the side. That is just so no one can sneak up on us from the other side. So I like it that they have to come from a forward direction in front of us in order to talk to us. And that's just one of our preferences. So if anybody's coming along, I can pause the flight while the VO or a second VO can go over and talk to them and tell them not to get close. But what we're doing is building a choke point. Make sure that you always have a first aid kit and a fire extinguisher. You'll notice that we have a fire blanket as well. We haven't had a chance to test it, but we believe that the fire extinguisher will not put out the drone fire, but it will control the fire around it. But the fire blanket, we believe, will probably suppress it a little bit better. And a first aid kit is important because there's always a chance of injury. So we set up our control table because there is notes to be taken. We have a VHF radio there, the handheld on the left, so that we can hear the aircraft in the area. We have a small clock so that we can record our uptime and downtime consistently. And we want that takeoff and landing pad, and that one's very colorful. We want it at least 15 feet away from us, and I'll go over that in a second. It's basically so that everybody is away from the drone on takeoff and landing, but it also gives better visibility for a lot of things. That mat there is color coded. It's actually those play mats that you get for kids, and we have the green facing us so that when someone is lining up the drone, that the green lights will always be facing us. So that's the basic layout. So there's the Maverick simulator. This is what you're seeing on the screen now. So we basically will make sure that the everybody is ready to go. I will say I'm prepared for takeoff. Make sure that it's well communicated with the VO. The VO will come back to me saying she is ready. She'll usually ask me right away, what is my battery strength? So if I look down at the controller at that point, I'll tell her, and it's up here in the right hand corner, that it's 100%. So she has that, right? So we have confirmed the battery strength. I'm saying starting the drone with the RPAS. There we go. The motors have started. She's doing record time, so she'll say time, and I'll say 12:53, or she'll yell 12:53. And now we're ready to do checks on it. So it doesn't matter if this is a pre-planned flight, that a pattern is in it or not. what we do always usually is to take it up 3 feet, because many people could be using this drone. I want to check my controls. So you notice that there's modes 1, 2, and 3. We don't know if someone's changed it from the default. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a yaw to the left, a yaw to the right. I know that it went up because I just took it off the ground. So now I'm going to try to take it down. So there we go. I'll put it back at 3 feet. I can do forward, reverse, right, left, right. Now, if I was doing this and the drone took off and it was really close to me and it didn't have that 15-foot spacing and I brought it up and now I'm doing these tests, well, I could end up using that first aid kit. So that's why we put it out 15 feet. The other problem is, as we discussed, right? Oops. I just failed my drone test. The other problem that we discussed is what happens if I don't line it up correctly when I take it off the mat. So now I want to go forward. Well, now I'm hitting myself again. So it is nice, and everything that you're doing is reversed, right? So now it's trying to figure out the drone. So by having it lined up and out at a safe distance, when I took it off, I can perform, like I said, these checks very safely. So I've passed my checks. If I miss something, the VO at this point knows that my eyes are on it. So my next check after control would be the gimbal, and sometimes I take it up a little higher, right, when I'm doing this, so that I can watch the camera go up and down. I then turn on my strobe usually at this point. It is usually a standard payload for us, so that it's easier for the VO. And if I'm doing a manual flight, I usually turn on the recording at this point. The VO has the checklist. She's actually checking things off as we're taking it off. So at the point there where we're all happy, I'll say, going up, do you have eyes on it? She'll say yes. So I'm taking it up, and I'm happy where I'm at. I said, you got control, do you see it? She does. My eyes are now going to the controller, right? I'll adjust my camera a little bit. One of the things I do if I'm doing a manual flight, right, is I will actually turn it around a little bit, and I'll go, well, what do we got for highest obstacles? So I can see, we can see the power poles there, but I can't see actually the wires. So I know I'm going in that direction, and maybe I'm going to make a mistake to the left, so I'm just checking, think, am I clear of all these treetops and stuff? Because this is not a pattern that I'm flying right now. This is just manual. So I've decided that I have to check out the ditch of this road. So I start my flight, and I'll pass that on to the VO at this point that I'm starting it. She's already got eyes on it. Again, it's very important that we are doing a proper site survey beforehand. But even though you do a proper site survey, I don't see everything right off the top. So that's why sometimes camera angles make all the difference. So there's some power lines there that you can't see if you're tipped down. And if I'm in doubt at all, I just stop the drone. Take the hands off the control altogether, and then I can, see where I am. Is there any obstacles here that's gonna burn me and watch my drone crash to the ground? I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now, so I can continue. And I do this a fair amount all the way through it. If I am flying sideways, because I'm checking the edges of trees, right? So I'm going along in the first 15 feet of trees. I will stop every so often, bring it up, scan to the left. It's funny how one tree stands out more than another that someone couldn't see. Or in this case here, see, I'm lined up with that tower, so I got to keep that in mind. So I may go back and continue flying, realizing that there's a big metal tower coming at me. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind. The big metal tower, my VO's got eyes on that. So that's nice. It's a little tiny spruce tree that looks like it blends into the background. So I've done what I want to search, and then I'm coming back. So I'm going to let my VO know that I am coming back. So right now I'm just turning this around so that I can see where my home point is. Again, I'm flying manually, but I can see it on the left hand of the screen. And you'll see very quickly why it's important to have a nice, big, colorful landing pad when coming in. So, you're coming back, and I'm almost on the home point. It's saying that. Like, it says I'm 51 meters away from it, so I'm 48, 47, 46. Even at the height I'm at, 11 meters, 33 feet, that person there doesn't look very big. So having a big colorful landing pad there that would show up, usually out in the sun, is really good. So now I'm 7 meters from where I took off, the original home point, 15, 14. VO has eyes on it. What I'm looking at is, am I over my target? So I can scroll that camera down and saying, you know what, I'm pretty close right now. I'm up too high to see, but I could start this earlier, but I'm going to turn this around so that green is facing me or relatively close to it. And I'm also seeing if there are people coming or problems. The simulator has me taken off from a road, so that's always a problem, but I'm going to switch back to looking at the drone. I'm not going to try to land it with the controller camera. So now that I can visually see it, I can bring it down a little lower, right? So I'm lowering it. I can ask the VO checklist, and she'll start reading off obstacles in the way. Is there any people around? Is there any animals away? So she's going through the checklist, and I'm bringing it in, but I can see it. Now that's still, pretty careful. And if I needed to move it ahead to hit the mat at this point, I can just nudge it to where I think the landing point is. I can confirm that again by scrolling the camera up and down and see if I'm directly over it. In most cases, if it's down at a safe height, I can walk right up within a couple feet of it and make sure I'm over the pad. So when I know it's safe to land, right? VO is ready. I have eyes on it. I'm saying that I'm landing, and I've been saying that all the way through it, really. And I'm just going to hold this down because it's a couple feet off the ground, and this thing will auto land if I'm holding down the left stick, and it will auto shut itself off. She will yell out the landing time. I will give her the battery percentage, which is 67%, and that is basically the procedure we do for takeoff and landing. So I mentioned position of vehicles and stuff for takeoff and landing. We have learned that with slopes like this, and I've had apple orchards and stuff, when I'm trying to scan an area, that if the VO is right here and I take off, because of the angle of the eye, I have to go really high. I may break that 400 feet, which I can't do, in order for her to see me for any distance. That is a problem. But the other thing that we've learned, and I've learned this because I've set up wireless for companies joining buildings for years, is that if I put a car, and I'm a great artist, if I put a vehicle in between us, then the signals, it's metal, will reflect back, and my signals for distance that I can go out is drastically dropped. Or if there's a building in between, then I may be flying out here, but once I get to this side of the building, I will start to get signal break up on the drone. So I plan everything based on the area that I want to cover. Flat ground is not too bad. So radio signals, as if this is my controller, right? And I can flip the antennas up. It is important that the antennas are facing the drone. Radio signals are the shape of a football. So if this is my drone, if this football, because there's a hill or slant, or we go back to that previous one where it's an uphill slant, the radio waves will start to interfere with each other as it bounces off ground. And what will happen is you can't go out as far, or your signal will not be great or deteriorate very quickly. So if I'm parking on myself up on the top of a hill, then I can maintain a perfect football shape for my signals from my controller for a long, long distance. So high ground is great. But I mean, you also have to keep that in mind, that if you're even on the flat and level, that if I put the drone up high, I still get a great football shape. But if I am doing the drone down low, then I could get ricochet off the land, and that may mean that I can't go as far without signal deterioration. And don't forget things like power lines and everything else that can reflect. Nice thing about that field that I just showed you is because it's soil, there's more of a tendency for it to absorb the seal and not go back and interfere with the rest of the signal waves. But if this was hard pavement that we were doing this on, then I have a much, much bigger problem with signal interference. So take your time when you do your site survey, not just for people and animals and obstacles, and you got to make sure that you have permission and all that. But where you set up your vehicle, even so that you don't start a forest fire, is really, really important. Anyway, that was the basic of what we were trying to get across to you today. If you're new to RPAS, or even just some of the basics that we've ran into here in our zone in the last year.